Let's get started. So before we start, let me try to open the tech notes. So we have this HTML. All right. So far, right, guys, we have done a lot of learning, a lot of things that we went ahead and learned in terms of HTML tags. Okay. So what are those? Yeah. Of late, we have just completed what we call as images, right? Images can be implemented using a tag called IMG. IMG is used for a image to embed an image into a HTML file. And at the same time, this IMG tag, right? It's a self-closing tag, also called as a empty tag, right? So it doesn't have it has only one tag. It doesn't have a closing tag. It's just an open tag or a self-closing tag, what we call it as. So there are two mandatory attributes. One is called SRC, which will give you the path of the file or the URL, or ALT, which is an alternate text, which refers to the text description of the image. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and talk about now. Images are done. Now let's see about audio and video. So these are all becomes part of your multimedia. Okay. So let's go ahead and see how we can embed what we call it as audio video tag. So as the name itself suggests, the tag also infers the same thing, which is audio tag and a video tag. There are two tags, and audio tag is used to embed the sound content in the document, whereas video tag will support the multimedia support in terms of how do you play a videos. Okay, in order to play a video on to embed a video file onto a HTML document. So they have got certain attributes like control, loop, autoplay, buffered, and all these. We'll take those one by one. Now, for the time being, let's see. This is an audio tag, which is open tag, and inside the audio tag, there are three attributes have been given, and these are called these attributes. Sometimes they call it as a Boolean attributes because if they are present, they mean something. If they are absent, then they means that you do not have those attributes specified. So now let's go ahead and see how it looks like in your HTML file. So let me try to create a boilerplate with exclamation tab out, and that will create a boilerplate for me. And then I'll add a h1 tag, a demo audio and video tag, or I can put it as. So guys, this is something very special. We'll come to that what this means. Okay, ampersand amp semicolon. So these are something we call it as an HTML entities. Okay, you can talk about entities and symbols in some time now. So just this represents ampersand on your web page. So now with that being said, let's go to audio file. So as you know, the audio tag will create, and automatically there is something called as source here. Okay, there is a source file that exists which can add the audio file. All right. So now what else is there? In audio file, there is something called as source. Source is again a tag. So what it gives, it will give me the path of the file or the URL of the file. And then there is a type, what type of a file it is, whether it is a audio mpeg, or there are other formats also, right? There is a WAV format and all that. And at the same time, controls and loop and muted. So what does this control says? Control will give you access to play, pause, those kind of control that exists on a multimedia player. Like for example, if you have seen any VLC player or a Windows player, you have certain buttons on top of those audio or video files. Those are called controls. If you pause button is there, play button is there, so those are called controls. Loop, what does this loop? which means by the end, if there is a 10-second audio and it completes 10 seconds and again it will repeat, okay, that is called looping. All right, so it is auto repeat, that is what it loops. And muted means the moment the web page is loaded, the audio is muted, you will not be able to play that audio. Okay, so it will be played but it will be in muted, you won't be able to hear that audio. That is what muted means. All right, and then what is this any text that you put within the audio tag, this will appear the moment you are not able to load the audio file. It is something like that, you have seen it in an image file, right? If the image file doesn't load, then alternate text will appear. In the same way, if audio file is some for some reasons that your browser is not able to support your audio file or format, then at that point in time, this particular text within the audio close and open tag, whatever the text you put in will appear on the web page. All right, now in this case, the file location is here. This is a .mp3 file, and here it is. The output would look something like this. So these what you see, they are called controls. All right, and if and here, why is it in mute status? Because of this attribute called muted. So that is the reason you now that I have, if I want to refresh it again, as the page is being loaded, now if you can see, the controls appears, the loop is there. Okay, because if you play that, I'll show you how it is played. If you play that again, it will loop, and then it is in muted status because it is currently, you won't be able to you won't be able to hear it. All right, now suppose if I go here, so the moment, yeah, again if you see, it is again, right, it's going in loop. If you see, yeah, this is because of this loop. All right, and muted because by the time when for the very first time when the page loads, this will be in mute status. And controls is because you are able to see these controls, play and pause. All right, and source, anyways, this will give you the source of the file, and the text that flows within the audio file is called it will show you when you are not able to load the audio file because of certain browser considerations or because of the correct file itself. So this is what it means. And another important thing about this is there is also a attribute called autoplay. Okay, so if you see, yeah, autoplay is also a boolean attribute. What will happen for this autoplay? Autoplay will also make your audio play the moment you load it. Okay, we'll see that example very soon. In terms of both, it can be for audio and video both. So all these attributes that you're seeing now, guys, the loop, it is all applicable for both audio and video. Autoplay is applicable for audio and video. Buffer, where you have a time range associated, and within that time range it will give you a lead time of playing that audio. And muted, obviously, it is also applicable for audio and video. Preload, not very often used, but it will basically indicates whether the whole resource, that is the video and audio file, part of it or nothing to be preloaded. So preloaded is whether you want everything of a file to be loaded and available so that it doesn't buffer. That is what we use preloaded. Source is the path, and poster is applicable only to the video file. Why? Because poster is nothing but your thumbnail that you see on the video files. Okay, that is the, and width is nothing but it is not applicable for the audio, but width is applicable only for the video, which means the width of the video that will be shown. We'll see that in a video file. So here is the video tag. Video tag opens here, and it has got a lot of attributes here, and then there is video tag close. and this is the text when the browser doesn't able to load the video, and there is a source which will give you the source of the file and then the type of the file, video slash mp4 file. So that is the reason this file would be in mp4 format. Now let's come to these some attributes here. Controls, as the name itself suggests, it will have these controls available, like play and mute and all that. And then there is width is about 300 pixel, which is from left to right. This one we are talking about, this is the width. And next is autoplay, which means the moment the page is loaded, if I refresh it once again and page is loaded, now you can see it is auto playing. But I'm not able to see the sound, hear the sound, because it is muted. Why it is muted? Because of this attribute. And loop, it is existing in loop. And then poster is nothing but if had it not been auto played, then the very first image that will show up is this image, which is skillsam.png image will be shown as a thumbnail. Okay, let me see if I have a video in my let's give this. I don't know whether I have it or not. I have a css file, I have a script. Is there in... Okay, so yeah, I'm not sure I have the video file, but it is like any video file. You can go ahead and add it, and it'll help you to play that video file. Let me see if I can find anything. It's examples assets. Let me go here. Notes, examples, assets. Yeah, there is a video file. Let's see. Video file. Yeah. Now, if you see, this is the video file that is there. Now, for some reason, I'll add the text unable to load the video. And then here, what I can do, I can go ahead and add a lot of attributes here. Let's say autoplay, then muted, then I can say I'll put that in loop, and I'll add the controls as well. Okay, so yeah, I mean, if this is, and also I can add poster as well. Let's see if I add poster image. Is anything, maybe I'll add some India flag. Let's see. Now let me try to run this file. Yeah, now, if you see this, guys, what was happening, I can put that in a single line, or I can even put that in a multiple lines as well. That is also allowed in this. Okay? Because HTML ignores the white spacing. So I can go ahead and add it in a multiple lines so that it is easily visible to me what is happening here. So autoplay. So what happens is the moment I load this, it will be autoplayed and then muted, because the moment I load it is in mute status, and then loop, it will end and again it will loop. And third, controls. Fourth is controls, that will allow me to show these controls here. This is because of these controls. Poster is nothing but the thumbnail that we can see, and source is the location of the mp4 file. Now let me remove this autoplay for time being, to show you, just to show you. I have saved it, and then I'll try to refresh. Now what you're seeing here, guys, you're seeing a kind of an Indian flag here. It is because of this thumbnail. Okay, this is the poster. Poster will be the thumbnail that I have chosen for the this particular video. All right. And then the width I have not given. Let's say I want to add another thing called as width. Let's say I will add 200 pixel. Okay, or just 200 is enough. That will be automatically pixel. So if you see, this is 200 pixel, and that is the reason you can see only the video in this very small size. So again, I'll go ahead and increase this width size to 300 pixels, and that is the reason you can see the 300 pixel mark of this video. All right. And let me say, or I can even go ahead and say, um, in terms of percentage. What is this percentage? The moment I give the percentage, right, it is the viewport percentage. From left to right of your screen, only take 50% of the screen. That is because of this percentage. So whatever it might be, the width of the screen, 50% width of the screen is occupied by the video itself. Now, so you saw muted, you saw loop, okay, and width, control. Let's say I delete control. Let's see how it looks. So if I delete control, right, guys, you won't be able to play or pause the video. It will just look like this because the controls are removed here. And then that is the reason you won't be able to see. If I put back the controls, I can be able to see play, mute, and all those controls. I can view them. Now, let's say I want to remove mute. So what happens? The mute will be removed. I'll refresh it. If you see, it is unmuted now. All right. Then I can go ahead and play. Okay. Here I'll remove the browser one. Okay. Yeah. Now we have gone here. It will loop. It will loop. Why? Because it will loop because of this attribute, loop attribute. So all these attributes, loop, control, and again there is autoplay, these are mute, these are all boolean attributes. If they are present, then they will do what is expected of them, otherwise it will be not done. Like for example, autoplay, if I add it autoplay, then it will automatically play. If I don't add it, it won't autoplay. That is why these are called boolean attributes. So any questions, guys, so far in terms of audio and video tags?
No, sir.
All right. So, with that being said, let's move on to the next learning in terms of HTML tags. We saw audio, video. Now there is an embedding a content. Okay, embed the tag is just embed. We see here. Embed is what it allows you to embed any external content into the document. Okay. Now, you might say, what is that external content? Okay, external content can be anything. It can be a video file, it can be a image, it can also be a any kind of audio as well. All right. So here, let's see, what does this embed tag contains? Embed tag is a single tag which can include any of these documents, like audio document, video document, or an image file. So what it contains? This embed is a self-closing tag. All right. What it means is it has got a tag, only a open tag, which is a self-closing tag. We call it as, whether this might be existing or doesn't exist front slash. This doesn't matter. These are the self-closing tag. It doesn't have a closing tag. So embed contains certain attributes. One is called type. What type of a file it is? Video, MP4, or you can be image, JPG. So those kind of things you can add for the type. And then source, as the name itself suggests, it will give the path or the URL of the file. And then there is width of the file that is being shown on the web page. And then height. This is something additional that we have, that is called height, which means you can also set the height of the video in this example. All right. And then there is a way that you can also embed a image as well. So how do you embed an image? image can be embedded by changing the type here. Type will be image followed by front slash png. So png, which will suggest what type of a file it is. Okay. And then there is something called as source. Source will give the path of the file, and then there is width, and then you can also set height if the need be. So the output, if I click here, right, so let me see the output. Here it is. So what it has done, there is nothing called as controls here. Embed doesn't have anything called as control. So whatever the video you put, it will automatically start playing. Okay. And then there is an image, what is shown here, this is because of this tag. All right, this is an image tag that is added at the bottom. All right, so make sense, guys, how the embed tag works. It has got source, type, height, width, that will help you to embed audio, video, as well as the image files. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So now let's go ahead into understanding object. Yeah, this is again interesting thing. Object as it is, it will help you to represent an external source which can be treated as an image, a nested browsing context, or a source to handle a plugin. So any of the three objects, I mean, it can be any image you can embed, you can embed any maps if you want to embed, you can do that. And even you can also go ahead and link an external website within that. Like you can go ahead, it's similar kind of an iframes. We'll come to that what iframe is, but just for now, let's understand this object will help you. In this case, it is embedding an image. Okay, object, it is also a self-closing tag, doesn't have a closing tag. Like a embed itself, object doesn't have a closing tag. What it can do, a HTML element, an HTML element represents an external source which can be treated as an image. Okay, a nested browsing context, and also a resource to be handled by a plugin. So what it contains, it contains something called as data here. It doesn't have a source, it has a data and source means same. Data in this case is like a URL of the resource, the path. And type is what type of an element it is. Width and height, as you know, it is the width and height of the element. And the name indicates the name of the element. Okay, I mean, used by the server to identify the fields in terms of form. All right, so let's say here, object tag, there is a name, a rose. Why? Because the image suggests it's a rose. Okay, and then there is a type, which is img image front slash png file. And then width is 300 pixel, height is auto set, which means it will adjust according to the width set. Okay, this is the output that you are seeing. So there are standard MCQ questions for you would be, which of these tags will help you to add image onto a web page? You can give an option of image tag, there would be a embed tag, there will be a object tag, and there would be a audio tag, or some other tag, maybe span tag. So at this point in time, you should be able to say span tag does not allow you to embed an image, whereas the image tag will help you to add an image, embed tag will help you to add an image to the web page, and also object tag will also help you to add an image. All right, so these are different ways you can add images and audio and video files to a web page. All right, any questions, guys, in this?
ಎಸ್ ಸರ್, ನೇಮ್ ಇದ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ರೋಸ್ ತಗೊಂಡಿವಲ್ ಸರ್, ಅದು ರೋಸ್ ಬದ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಏನ್ ಬೇಕಾದ್ ನಾವ್ ನೇಮ್ ತಗೋಬೋದಲ್ ಸರ್?
Yeah. I mean, that is up to you, because it should also be a logical connection. So
ಹಾ, ಎಸ್ ಸರ್.
now you have added a rose image just to let the server, because this name, right, usually would
ಎಸ್ ಸರ್.
help you to track that in terms of form. What can happen is the object can also be used to add a forms as well, where it might have 10 input fields. You can add that within a object itself, and then you can say this form is a registration form. Okay, so the server identifies based on the name. You can track this attribute. Okay, because JavaScript, right? If you know JavaScript, later we'll learn, we can select the element by a attribute as well. So just by giving the attribute name, we can able to select that. So this should be a very logical connection with what you are doing here, because here there is a rose image that we are showing. So that is the reason we are able to put that in this. Okay, makes sense.
Yes, sir.
So now let's move on to understanding what is known as in-frames or iframes. Sorry, iframes, as it itself suggests, it will help you to embed a website within a web page. Okay, so what it means is, suppose you are showing the web page here, right at the corner or somewhere in your web page, I want to show a Google page itself. Okay, that I can do by using iframes. Or there might be a big website, and at the top right corner I just want to show a website related to weather. Okay, AccuWeather or iWeather or whatever, a weather related website at the top right corner, I can do that. Okay, just by using what is known as iframes. Iframes is a HTML element that is nested for browsing context, and it will be another HTML page into the current page. So what it can do is, iframe will help you to insert or add a web page itself to a web page. That is one thing. It will also help you to add any maps or anything like Google Maps or Open Street Maps. All those kind of maps can be added to your web page itself. You can also use that using iframes. And even the forms, like for example Google Forms are there, right? And now I want to add Google Forms to my web page, I can do that using what? Iframes. That is, these are some of the use cases for using the iframes. So let's take these one by one. Let's say control it, delete, then I'll add it. And now iframes. Now in this case, let's say I want to add http colon front slash .com. Okay. So if you observe here, there is something happened. What is it? Google.com refused to connect. So why this happens? Because whenever you are using iframes and you want to embed or you want to add some external web pages or websites, at that point in time you need the permission, you need the written permission or the access permission of that website to help you to add that uh, website into your own web page. Because suppose I one day I go ahead and create a web page called as allnews.com. So in my web page, I can keep adding every newspaper onto my web page itself. Then no one will try to bother and visit all the websites of the news channels. Okay, they'll be readily available on my single website. But that is a copyright infringement. You are trying to gain the access of their website's content into my web page, and that is incorrect. That is legally unlawful. Okay, so iframe should be very cautious whenever you are using iframes. Make sure whatever the website that you are trying to add, you need to have the permission of that website. So here what is happening, Google has made in such a way that it is not allowing you to add the web page onto your website. So that is the reason my iframe doesn't allow me, it is refused to connect. So whereas what will happen, so in this iframes what I have done, we have added a image here. Okay, there is an image added. There are three examples here. All right, let's take first example. First example here is iframes. Iframe adding a image file. So image file is in my location in my computer or the server itself. Then I can give the URL path and add it. So what it contains, iframe contains an attribute called ID. ID is, I mean, it's a global attribute, right? ID and class are global attributes. ID stands for identifier. What it says, inline frame example PNG file is there. Title will be like, what is the title of the image? So inline frame example PNG, which means if I hover the text over it like this, it will show me what kind of a title this holds. Now this is the output that is shown here. Let me take the another attributes. What it contains, it contains width, height and source. Width is 50% of the screen to be occupied, and height is only 300 pixel, and then source of the file is this one, okay, in my location. So this is the very first image that I am embedding into the web page by using iframes, and this is how it looks. Okay, I have added the image file, and if I hover over it, I have added this image file by using iframe. So iframe, right, always it will contain like this scroll bar will be there if it doesn't fit inside, if the image doesn't fit completely. So the scroll bar will be there like this. Okay, and these are called iframe which contains an image. This is one example. Now let's go to the another example, an iframe containing an external website. Okay, so what is this external website I am talking about? I'm talking about a website called HTML Specs. Okay, this is a official site for HTML in detail learning. It is provided by W3C, that is World Wide Web Consortium. That is a non-profit organization which will help you to keep the standards uniform across the internet for the usage of HTML. They set the standardization for HTML language. All right. So what I have added the web page itself here. So what it contains, if you see here, so this is a website which of the HTML. All right. If I go ahead and copy this link, right, and go to this link, this is the website. It will try to open. Yeah. If you see, this is the actual website of HTML specs, which were last updated by 17th March. This entire website I am trying to add into the my web page by using iframes. This is the output. I can go ahead and click any hyperlinks inside that iframe. It will navigate and still be within that iframe. It won't open in a new window. Here I have clicked it and it has opened in the same window. Or for that matter, if I want to see the background, and background will come here and it will go ahead. I can browse the entire website within the website. Okay, makes sense, guys, this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the next iframe that I'm trying to include is called OpenStreetMap. So it is OpenStreetMap. It is kind of an API that is available readily, openstreetmap.org. And the entire street map is being added based on the link that I can extract. And if you see here, this is the street map that is added. OpenStreetMap, I can add it to my web page. All right, makes sense?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any questions you have, guys? Let me see the Hindu if it has. Yeah, this the Hindu is a newspaper, very popular newspaper. So I'm just trying to add that it is able to add. Okay. Now let me say if I can go ahead and say width is 50%. Trying to add the height of let's say 400 pixel. Now if you see my example here, I am able to add the newspaper inside the web page using what is called as iframes. Okay, makes sense, guys? Now let's go ahead and see what else we have. Yeah, now we have what is called as forms. Okay, very important. Okay, Make sure you understand these forms well. Now, as the name itself suggests, this is related to forms tag, and it will help you to create a form inside an HTML page. A form can be any form, like a registration form, if you say online login form, or a sign up form. All these kinds of forms that you see are created using a forms tag. And whenever we say a form, it means it is expecting the user input. User input is very important in terms of forms. What kind of a user input are we expecting? You need to key in the web page, or you need to select a drop down menu, or there might be a radio button that you need to click upon, or you need to submit a button by clicking a button to submit a form. All these are called user inputs, different kinds of user inputs. Okay, so because of this, we have what we call it as two things here. A form contains a label, and it also contains a tag called input, attribute called input. Let's take it one by one. So now, how can we create forms? Forms can be created using forms tag. Okay, it represents a document section containing interactive controls for submitting information. All right, and there is again another tag here in forms, which is called as label, which is nothing but a caption. Caption in the sense, like for example, let's say, what else I can do. Yeah, maybe I'll go here. Let's say this is a python.org. It doesn't have anything. The search is also a form. This is a form. You click here, search, and click button. This is a form. If I show you behind the scene, this will be a form itself. So if you see here, I don't know how legible this will be, but I can show you something. Yeah, there is a form open here, form, and then it contains a label, it contains an input. The label is what? Label is search this site. So what you see here, search, this is a label. Okay, search is a label, and uh, and the input is this field. This is the input field. What you see here outside is a label. Here, this is a label, and if you click it here, this is input. You are trying to input here. Now let me show you with the example. You will be able to understand much better. So the label, just to specify, it is a caption. Input is a input type. What type of a input is it the user giving? One is input can be a text field, free text field. Input can be a radio button. Input can be a drop down with a selection and options, which you see here. The selection and options, they control the drop downs and the drop down menu. We'll talk about that one by one. Let's take this example at the bottom. So here, enter the details. This is a form, guys. I'm just showing the output of whatever the code is written here, but prior to that, let's take it one by one. Enter the form. This is a header. What you see here, right? Name. This is a caption. This is a label. What you see here is the input field. Here, label, input field, label, input field. Okay, then there is, this is also an input field. This is kind of a radio buttons. We call these input as a radio button. Okay, now again, this is a checkbox. Okay, this type of input is a checkbox, and what you see here is a drop down. Okay, selection. Here we need to use a tag called select and option. These are the options. You need to select this. This is a caption again for that, a label. Let's take this one by one and try to see what they are. Let me try to copy this entire code itself to show you one by one. Let's say this is the output. I'll try to remove this. Let's take understand with the bare minimum. Now, here is my body tag. Here first, the very first thing what you see is a H1 tag. H1 tag just say form input in HTML. Very simple. And then the form starts here and the form closes here. This is the form's open tag and then form's close tag. All right. Inside the forms tag, like the way what we seen in the table, right? The table tag contains what? It contains a table row tag, and then table row will contain a table data. In the same way, there is a form tag. Inside the form tag, there are label tag and input tag. Okay. The label tag, input tag, and finally there will be a submit button. Okay. Because of this type is submit. Now, very important thing here, let's take one by one, is the input tag. Why this is input tag is important? Because of an attribute called type. So the type will decide what type of an input is this. So here input type is equal to text. So all you see, one, two, three, four input types are text, and the last is submit. The input type is submit. Whenever the input type is submit, it is a button. Let's take this as an output and see how it looks. This is how the output looks now. What is it? The form input in HTML. This is your H1 tag, which you saw here. Form input in HTML. Then the form starts, open tag and close tag. Here the form contains an attribute called action and target. Action is whenever the form is submitted, then this action will appear. This action, whenever I click the submit button, the moment I click the submit button, it will take this attribute as a destination. Okay. And again, there is also an attribute, very important attribute called method, where we can say whether it is a get method or post method. And we'll take that for a another discussion, because that itself will decide how you pass the data from the form to your backend system. Okay. But for now, just understand that this is a form open tag. It contains a attribute called action, which will be what should happen the moment I submit the form. This page or this link will be effective, and then how it should be, it should open in a new tab. And then there is also an attribute which is not shown here, is called method attribute. Whether it is a get method or post method, how do you want to post this entire submission of the form details onto a database, or how do you want to take that forward? That is the attribute called method. Now, inside the forms method, there is the first thing is h2 tag is added. H2 tag enter the details, which is nothing but this tag. Okay, which is a heading 2 tag. Then there is a label tag. Also remember that label tag is a self closing tag, it doesn't have a closing tag. So the label and the label sorry, label tag has it's not a self closing tag, it has an open and close tag. But what I'm trying to say is it has got something called as enclosed text, which is name here. So you have a label tag here open and label tag close. In between, what you call this one as is an enclosed tag content, right, which is name. That is what you see it here. This is called as caption or a label. And then for is also important. For and id should match. Always remember this, guys, because how do you connect these two? Input and label, how are these two connected? Because this is a caption and this is an input field. How are these two connected? They are only connected using that for and id. So always remember the id and for should match. Ideally the name and for should match. That is the first thing. Okay, name and for should match. Make sense? Because this and this, you can have this id as something different, that doesn't matter, but name and this should always match. And that is why they are both connected, saying this input field has always been relating to this caption. Make sense, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now there is a label for is f name, which is for this input. This is the label, and input has got this tag. All right. This is the input tag. And now remember that input does not have a closing tag. All right. So input has got attributes called type. Type is a very important attribute for a input tag. So what this will tell, what type of a input field it is. In this case, if the type is text, this is what appears. Okay. Input text is appearing. All right. Now we will take about radio and all that input tag in a while, but now understand the input type is text. ID is an identifier. Name suggests we are giving a unique name for this input. And then placeholder. Placeholder is something that you see here, okay, in grayed out. This is a placeholder. The moment you enter something, that will be gone. These are kind of a tooltip or an input tip for the user. So enter the name here. So it is something that you are suggesting the user to be more suggestive in nature to tell what need to be entered here. And then there is also another attribute here. There is called as value. Value is what you are not here in this case. India, we have India is actually a value. You don't need to enter any input from the user. It is already been entered India. This is because of the attribute called value. If you see, yeah, if you see here, value is equal to India. It is because the input field country name, C name, has been given the value as India. So that is the reason you see India here. It is not placeholder. Placeholder and value are different, guys. Placeholder is just a suggesting or a input tip for the user, whereas value is the actual value that is pre-filled. Okay, it is the actual value that is pre-filled in the input. Let's say if I add here, let's say John and Smith, and then phone number I'll add. Okay, country India. Now, the moment these entry or the inputs have been added, and what will happen if I submit this? And how is this submit button coming here? It is coming because of the input type submit. Okay, the value can be anything. Value can be, let's say, sign up. If I say sign up, the button name will be shown to sign up. Okay, this is the value that is showing here. Because I have given it as submit, you are able to see here as submit. Okay. So the moment I click submit, because of this click type submit, it will go to this action. Okay. Whenever the input field submit is clicked, then the action attribute will be triggered, which here, the moment I click here submit, this file, which is thank you.html, will be opened in a new window. Okay, the moment I click here, see, thank you for sharing the details. This is because what? This is because this notes example HTML output thank you.html. This is being diverted to this particular action. Okay, makes sense, guys? Are you understanding this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you understood this? Yeah, Vittal, you have any question?
No, sir.
Okay. So now, if you see here, oh, where is that? Yeah, if you see here, this will be the new window that is opened. All right, new window that is opened because of the form submission. Now, let me add other details. I'll add the form again, and now I'll take the other inputs. First is this one is done. I have added all these names, surname, phone number, country name is added. Now let's say choose your favorite web language. Now this is because of this. Choose your favorite web language. And how is these radio buttons appearing? Because of the input attribute. The input attribute here is called radio. Because of this input attribute called radio, these are in radio format, radio button format. And the next one is choose the vehicle you own here. And these inputs are called what? Checkbox, right? These are all checkboxes. And here it will allow you to check more than one. Here radio button is only one you can select. And here you can allow you to check more than one. And this input type is called checkbox. This is input, and type is very important attribute. Because of this type attribute, you are changing the differences, you are seeing the change in the differences. All right. And then there is car make, which is this one. Here what is happening, it's a drop down menu. You are able to see this drop down menu, and this is because of the two tags, which is select and options. Okay. Now this is a select attribute. All right. This attribute contains an options. In the same way, like there is a unordered list, ul tag will contain a list item, right? In the same way, select tag contains the option items. These are the options. So the options are Volvo, Tata, Fiat, and Audi. These are the options that drop down options are being seen here because of this options tag. Option is also a open and close tag are there. All right. Are you guys understanding this? So that's good. Good that we have already made a good progress. Here we have seen how the forms are there used, and the moment I submit it, it will say thanks for sharing the details and all that. Now with that we have wrapped up all related to html, and for you guys you can go ahead and talk about and learn the html elements. All these have been listed down here one by one. You can go ahead and learn those, and also all the attributes are given, and each attribute for what tag are those attributes applicable are given, and even the examples are there. Okay, go to the html examples, and you can also learn. If you click on the span tag, right, if you click on the code, there will be a code already existing here. Okay, just copy this and use it in your visual studio code, or the output is also seen here. You can go ahead and modify here and see the output right here. Okay, lot of all the examples are there given here: span tag, html tag, all favicons, text formatting, email correspondence, again all these iframes and everything is given here. You can just go ahead and look at these examples for yourself and learn those html things. Thank you guys.